With the recent release of the Splatoon 2 Octo expansion, all players in the entire community enjoyed every last bit of the story, including me. Usually I thought this entire game would have been basically easier like the original Splatoon 2 story mode, but boy, I was wrong. And from the recent top 10 I'm making, you should end up agreeing with it too. In this, I'm going to be telling top 10 of all 80 stages that, to my perspective, were the hardest that, on 3 occasions, that made me struggle a lot and waste all my CQ points throughout the entire journey from first grabbing the CQ80 and making my journey to Inkopolis. Without that said and done, let's get started with the countdown by introducing it with our good friend, the good old Captain Cuttlefish. Take us in. Maybe another work in progress. So, without that said and done, let's move on with number 10. It's bouncing! It's bouncing! Well, not anymore. The first thing we have in our countdown is the 8-ball bumping station. This course overall is very unique in its own way. Your objective is very simple: taking the 8-ball to its goal while basically splatting any unfortunate souls that come your way. However, it does come with one unfortunate kick. You cannot let this 8-ball actually drop whatsoever. If you wish to want this thing to fall, I'll give you a prime example. The 8-ball made its unfortunate turn. Scary, but overall it's very fun level because literally you can end up manipulating the 8-ball to do whatever you want, even running unexpected octolings over with it. I can imagine going this is basically like bowling in Splatoon. Instead, pulling away. Anyway, once you reach to the goal, it's basically a test pass. The reason why I made this more difficult for myself is that the sloshing machine made it more harder for me for this level, for example. It made it harder for me to use the sloshing machine because it had more range, and not to mention you have to be very careful when using this weapon against like sponges or bouncing beds around this area of the map. Because one false move with the sloshing machine, you can cause the entire 8-ball just to bounce back like a wrecking ball. But in this case, a wrecking ball of your own destruction if it falls off the cliff. At this point, the only idea I had was just to push the ball gently because of how much recoil energy that this thing had. But yet, so satisfying in the end when I see all of these Octo Troopers ready to be lined up, like basically getting ready for bowling. If they didn't stop shooting my ball. And don't get me started on how to get it into the goal, because it was a pain in the butt just getting it across. Come on. I used you for bowling. How can it be this hard just to get in the goal? This may take a while. Finally, without that said and done, let's get back on the train. Number 9. So, big question for everybody. Who has an artistic eye in drawing? Because this station is a little bit of a doozy for those that don't really have the artistic eye. And the matchmaking station is relatively forward. Just cut out the picture on the other side, but one twist. The initial intention of this station is to match exactly what you see on that picture. This one's just mostly quite simple and just getting a picture of a dog, which is not too bad. But you have to be very careful around just with the very details. Because as earlier, if you shoot the wrong box, you would end up meeting the wrong side of Oblivion. Via the dead pack that's on your ink tank. This course takes a lot of focus and concentration, because you have to make sure that, like I said, one false move with this, and you can really receive the bad end of the stick with this. But once after you get the right details of the image, it's basically Gold City from here on out. Mostly it's not really that bad compared to... Oh, scarier than it looks! Nope, we're not doing this. Everyone back on the train, we're going to the next one. Number 8. Alright, that doesn't seem too bad. Wait, what do you say? Okay. Armed with only nothing but a 10 umbrella, splat roller, or classic squiffer, welcome to the Move It station. This station is kind of a little bit wonky as it is compared to the others. I call this basically known as a no damage run. Your job is simple, get to the goal without taking any damage from either ink fire or even setting foot on anyone's turf. If you try setting a foot on anyone's turf, they have some nasty repercussions. It makes it harder in this stage that you also have to avoid things like the Octo washes and many types of Octarian troops that are shooting blasters at you. It's like kind of like playing a video game without taking any damage. What made it harder about this station is that you have many opponents to avoid when it comes to Octo washers or even heavily armored troops. It makes it kind of hard to deal with, especially if you're using things like an umbrella holder or splat roller. This has to be the hardest segment of the game, which is dealing with an Octo sniper when only using nothing but a roller. You have to literally think on your feet in any given situation at facing against this without taking any means of damage. This is not really the icing of the cake here. You have to avoid Octo fire and not to mention not hitting any of your opponent's turf. But once after you eliminate everybody and basically make your way through obstacle after obstacle, well, basically eliminating anyone in your way, getting the last of the keys, it's kind of a straightforward way to your goal and passing the test. Which now moves on with number 7. Alright, let's talk about bosses. In fact, one boss that comes to mind that actually would take the number 7 slot, the Revenge of the Octo Samurai. But with a twist. This guy is actually a little more tougher than he was in the original Splatoon 2 campaign. Armed with only a baller, your job is basically to get in his face and start blowing him up or tackling him, while avoiding getting smacked like a baseball. Knocked off really easy if you don't bang your own footing. Because if you don't try to end up minding your footing against him, you're going to get smacked around like a baseball on the first day of the game. What makes it harder about this fight is that he will start to get a little more difficult. Like, he would use things such as his Octo bike, or start swinging his roller in different types of directions, or even hitting you multiple times, sending you flying. Like I said, if you just mind your footing around him and not get smacked around like I am, you should be able to take him down, because one of the problems is that there are 3 pieces of fence surrounding you. So if you mind those fences when every time you get hit, you should be safe from falling off. After enough punishment you do to him, you should be able to take him down. Overall, he's just a very easy boss fight to take on. After enough punishment is done to him, you should be going down like the same way he did in the original Splatoon 2 campaign. In 3, 2, 1. Number 6. Welcome to the Move It station. Without a gun, this should not be that bad to go through. No, hello. No, it's not too bad right now. Vibrates up. Never mind, this is gonna be hard. Move It station had to be kind of a real difficult stage to go by. Armed with nothing but your bare fist, your job is mostly simple. Dodge as much as you can until literally time runs out. This can be very hard to do over time because literally it does get difficult, and not to mention the creators do tend to throw temptations in your way, especially those power eggs. And that Octo sniper that will try to take pot shots off of you while you're still focused on the grunts. This is so difficult. It makes it hard because, to be honest, I died so many times getting through the. I spend a lot of my credits just to be able to get through this part of the map, and I'm not even certain how many tries it took. I recalled I did die many times. I tried many ways, just running around like a doofus to walking casually like Virgil and Devil May Cry, but none of it works. Unless there's one way of doing it, and that's just walking as center. But that didn't work. After numbers of tries of me just running around dodging tons of bullets, and maybe possibly losing some of my sanity in the way, I managed to get across this freaking level with a lot of problems. Number 5. Start with number 5 with a question. How's everyone's driving skills today? Did anyone got their license? Ride along station had to be the most sophisticated one of the bunch of reaching to the goal. It's really simple. Basically taking your car to a car wash, but otherwise you avoiding the getting a wash. You just basically navigate through the stage by simply hopping on to truck after truck while getting through the entire stage. The main problem on this stage is actually getting to this part of the stage, and that is basically having a crap ton of enemies ranging from single shooter octolings to rapid fire. But that's not the cherry on top. This actually is much more harder to actually get around, and that's navigating through these octo washes using a flying car. What makes it hard for this is that you have to literally manage your ink supply as you get along, or otherwise you're going to run out of ink in mid-flight, getting hit by these octo washes, as you can see right here. These always get me all the time, but once that you manage to get across with only a little amount of ink left, you have the sweet, sweet chance of victory in your grasp. I said in my grasp. There we go. Overall, it's a really easy stage to go around, which leads now to number 4. You hear that? That is the sound of your imminent demise when you're always running out of ink in various stages in limited ink. Welcome to the Dinky Ink Station. To my perspective, one of the hardest stations to actually use limited ink. Job simple. Basically get to every section of the map with only using limited amount of ink. What's hard about it is when you're using a Luna Blaster, you can easily run out of ink. What makes it harder about this stage is that different types of enemies you have to face while basically running with a limited amount of ink. Because it's literally like 2 stages. As you move through the station, it makes it even harder is that you have to be able to bypass these crates. But at least the good thing about this area is that there is at least ink refill stations that make it a little bit easier. But once that you manage to bypass through most of the fences, it's really fairly difficult to get through it. Number 3. The reason why I'm actually saying it like this, it's because of this. And maybe people question, why another boss? Because this one, to my perspective, had to be the most hardest boss known to the game. Welcome to the Octo Oven XL. What makes this boss really hard about it is that you have to navigate through the Octo Oven's attacks while also avoiding Octo shots left and right from its unnecessary borders. Very dangerous, but not to mention you get like a lot of abilities on there like Ink Armor or Stingray. It makes it really simple to beat, but when you think about it, every time you go through each phase of the fight, he completely adapts, making you have to change your fighting style every time. For example, you can see that he put actually octo washes within each section of his body to prevent you from boarding. Each phase makes it even harder and harder, even with the amount of enemies that are boarding on the Octo Oven's back. The hardest phase of them all has to be when you basically face him in his final form, which allows him to have ink sprinklers, there we go, and along with also multiple splash walls and octo snipers raining hell on you basically making this a lot more harder as it is. You have to be avoiding this heaping pile of bread while trying to basically get yourself on board to its back while also avoiding Octofire. Once after he takes enough punishment, he will go down, leaving you to the sweet, sweet victory of overcooked bread. Number 2. Guys, you're gonna hate me, but yet you're gonna agree what this station is. Welcome to the Girl Power Station. To my perspective, this takes number 2 because of the fact this is the hardest known station that many people had to struggle, even me. The goal of this is just defend the orb while also trying to fend off multiple Octolings at once. It makes it hard about this is that the fact you have to watch your back consistently 24/7 while also dealing with multiple Octolings coming at you while also defending yourself against the orb getting damaged. One thing that's at least nice about this stage is that you do get a wide variety of weapons to choose from that you can trust the most. But always get ready to get splatted a lot, because you're going to expect that to happen to you. And what makes it harder on this course is that literally you're going to have opponents that are going to have their specials too. You're not going to be the only one that'll have access to special weapons such as Ink Armor and Stingrays. Some Octolings would have access to either Ink Armor or Stingray depending on the certain matchup. But in the very end, if you can last that amount of time, you should be able to pass this test with flying colors. But this took me like hundreds of tries to complete it. But this hasn't even topped to what is coming up next. And I dare to say it, it's number 1. I'm gonna be honest, I do not want to tell you this, but this is the bane of my existence. This is known to be the dodge, I call it the dodge rails of hell. At the very start of this level, I was thinking, oh, that's not too bad. All you gotta do is simply dodge a bunch of Octowashes as you pass along. But boy, I was wrong. This area took me, wasted all my CQ points to when I started playing this level. Ranging from dodging tons of Octowashes, hitting the drums that would screw me over like that. But what was hard was this segment of the stage. This one got me the most. It's simple, but yet so difficult. Your duty is simple. Shoot the drums to keep the Octowashes moving so you don't get hit by them. But every time I try to get by this, I either get whacked by it, whacked into oblivion, or I won't be able to shoot it and then run right into it like a dumb person. But overall, it's a fun course, but man, it was so hard. This one made me lose my sanity because the fact it took me thousands of tries and I wasted my CQ points on the first attempt. I had to go back later on just to retry it again. Well, I guess we can end this countdown off to see if I can actually get through this in one piece. Please be forgiving, please. I don't want to do this anymore. This is so hard. Okay, good. We're done. Oh, God. That actually kind of concludes everything on my top 10. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This took me a long time just to get ready, because it took me a lot of research, a lot of memories, and not to mention a lot of levels I had to go through individually to knowing which one's the hardest and which one was just fun overall. I hope you guys understand that this is an opinion based, but if anyone has a top 10 on their own, please let me know. I would be very glad to know which levels in your opinion drove you nuts and had to restart the game or run out of CQ points. Overall, I'll leave that to you. I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you next time.